guys, welcome back to the program. Thanks for joining us. Bit of a different feel for today's video. Normally I'm super hyped, ready to go. If you saw the last race day video, you know that we were having problems with the car. We were down on power. Either we were down on power in the motor or we were losing it in the drivetrain somewhere. The car was underperforming. Had the slowest times we've had this year and last year. So something was wrong. I feel like I needed to do an update video for you guys because I kind of left everybody hanging there after that last race day video, and then I didn't post anything for like 2 weeks. Sorry about that, but actually if you saw the rollout there, you see the house is painted. So the car was in the garage, wrapped up, I had blankets on it and stuff, had to tape off the garage because they were spraying, and I certainly didn't want to get anything on the car. But now that that's done, I've been back checking things, what happened at the track. But I've been poring over the data, looking at stuff from last year, this year, after the changes we've made, and come to a couple conclusions. I'll fill you in on those as well as let you know the things that I've been working on the car to see what's wrong. I've gone over some regular kind of maintenance stuff and done some extra stuff too, so let's get into it. So the big change on the last race day was the rear end. A lot of guys hit me up telling me that they did a similar thing, swapped to a Dana, the car went slower, it's heavier, more rotational mass. I get all that. I'm still not totally convinced that's a problem. We did upgrade the gear, going from a 410 to a 430, so that should really nullify any of the weight set off. So I'm not really focusing on the rear at all. One thing that I did notice pouring through the data, including the last couple years, so our last race day of last year, before we put the cage in, is when we ran our fastest pass, and we went 5:08 at our track out here. And this year our fastest pass has been 5:18, so the car's lost a tenth since we put the cage in. Now, why is that? If you watch videos from that last race day when we had the sway bar removed, as the car was launching, it was really twisting and coming up. It was getting out of the hole really good. That's when we had our best 60-foot times of 1:58. Now if you watch the videos of the car launching, it's totally straight. It does not twist at all. So adding that rigidity to the car actually put it back to where the car was running when we had the sway bar in the car. The car was stiffer with the sway bar, take it out, it goes loose and it gets out of the hole good. Cage goes in, back to where we are. Obviously the cage is much better to have in it in the long term, and the car was running too fast anyway, and I had to put at least a roll bar in it. So we did the full cage. So that's kind of a trade-off. Had to do it anyway. The car still requires a cage because it still runs too fast. So not too worried about that. That will help us in the future when the car launches even harder. Okay, now let's get into the things that I've checked and a couple of the little changes that I've made. Okay, so one of the first things I did is start looking at that ignition. At the track, we checked the timing. The timing was down to 32, and then we brought it up to 35, where it was back before I drove it for like 500 miles. Like I was thinking there, I thought the distributor might have just walked back a little over the course of that road driving. So we bumped it up to what we thought was 35, and the car ran slower. We did have to play with it a little bit, so we went over and then we went back and thought we had it set right. I rechecked it and it was still low, so I bumped it up to 35, where I'm confident it's at 35 degrees now. These MSDs, the box is a little hard to do timing sometimes. You don't get a perfect line on your bouncer, but now I am confident that it's at 35 degrees. I opened the cap up, looked at the springs inside, made sure the mechanism was working correctly. Everything looked good in there, so I'm now confident that we got good timing in it and our distributor is good. Now a little bit more about ignition. I was talking to my buddy Pete there. You remember my buddy Pete, the dyno guy, my engine guru? He was saying these MSD boxes can go funky on you. He was suggesting I get a second one just to have on the shelf, and it's an easy check. It's just a plug out, plug in. So I got one coming, gonna have one for next race day. If I go out and the car's lazy as hell, I can always just swap a new one, check it, and make sure that's not the problem. So I also pulled all the plugs, checked those to make sure everybody's getting a good burn. The plugs looked excellent. And then I ran a compression check on the engine, found nothing weird. After that, I went ahead, popped the valve covers, did a valve lash. I found a couple valves a little tight. Nothing crazy though. It wasn't really due for a lash. This engine, solid roller cam, you gotta lash it every like 3,000 miles or whatever, or every, halfway through race season, which is what I normally do. So it was a good time to do it, but
It certainly wasn't near 3,000 miles. Nothing was hanging open, so I was 100% sure it wasn't like a valve type issue. I also looked at all the sprigs to make sure I didn't have a broken one in there. They all looked good.
So at the track, we also made sure we got full throttle, and we checked the trans fluid. We pulled the dipstick, checked the fluid. It still smelled good, clean. Nothing was burnt inside. So I'm hesitant to think that it is sort of a driveline transmission issue. That trans was rebuilt only 2 years ago. You guys know that converter is only like a year and a half old, and everything was made with really good parts. So I'd be pretty astounded if something in there is wrong. That'll be the final check though. If we get everything straight here and we go out and it's still having issues, converter might have to come out and check it. But again, I really don't think that's the issue. And then the last thing I did on the car is this year I have been running a heavier weight of oil. Run a full synthetic. I've been running 2050. A couple guys pointed out on some of the race day videos, the oil pressure climbs and then during the run it starts coming down. So I did switch to a 2050 this year. It did not clean up the problem. I've talked with a few guys about it. It's certainly not a good thing. Both of my motors have done it. It might be like a small block Dodge thing. It's probably just like a windage type issue, the oil getting whipped up in there. But I am switching it back to a 1040, a little bit thinner, should be easier revving, a little more power, and the 2050 did not clear up that problem. So we'll go back to the 1040. 1040 was great driving around, had good oil pressure everywhere. Just on those race days it was falling a little bit during the race. So change that guy. What the fuck else have we been doing? So that kind of brings you guys up to speed as to where we're at and what's going on. I wanted to make a video for my subscribers, not leave you guys hanging, let you know we are going back racing. That's going to be the next video out. And when we're at the track, confident the car is as tight as I can get it. We're going to have that box on standby just in case. But we're just going to have to go out there and send it and see what she does. Really hoping to get a good day out there. Big info update, we got a trans brake on the way. Pete's gonna be putting that in for us. It's ordered, should be here for the last race of the season, which will be awesome. So hopefully we go out here, get the car back to where it was, and then it'll be trans brake time and we can hang this front end. So I'm gonna tuck her back in the garage now and cross my fingers. Thanks for watching, see you soon.
Well, at least it still looks pretty good. That looks pretty good too.